Hello and welcome to today's podcast. My name is Kim and I am from the Kim's Wellness Space on Instagram. And this week I am podcasting every day as we discuss all the layers of wellness. I am being super, what's the word? Uh, going to be an interesting podcast today if my brain's not working at the beginning. Super transparent about everything that I do during the day on my stories on Instagram. So I'm hoping by doing that, people will see that, I'm just the same as everybody else. Things get in the way. We have to flex and move with our plans, and that's absolutely fine. And that's exactly as it should be. So that's what I'm doing in my stories. On my posts every day, I'm talking about a layer of wellness. We've already discussed sleep and sunlight. Today's post is about nature. So if you haven't seen them, pop over to Instagram. I will put a link in the details of the podcast so that you know where to find me. But yeah, pop over, have a read. And then the daily podcast this week are just to expand and just give a bit more information and background onto all the subjects, because as brilliant as Instagram is, you can only type so much and it's quite difficult to get over sometimes what it is you want to say. So welcome to today. Today is all about nature. We are on podcast number 3. And if you haven't listened to part one or part 2 yet, no problem at all. Like, they all are standalone, but I would encourage you to go back and listen. It's all good stuff, and I want you to be able to understand all the layers. So yeah, go and have a listen. If you like it, share, give a review, thumbs up, whatever you want to be doing, whatever feels right for you. So yeah, we started with sleep. Whenever we talk about wellness or health and fitness, however you want to describe it, the list is always the same. Like, I'm not reinventing the wheel. The list is always the same, but I just think that it needs to be in a different order. And so sleep is always the beginning of my list, and then sunlight, and then today, nature. So that's really important. And that you will find them on other people's lists, but you definitely won't find them at the top. You'll probably find food first or movement. And then somewhere in the narrative down the bottom, they might talk about sunlight. They may talk about nature. Sleep will be a passing conversational phrase, but it won't really be focused on. And I think that that's really missing a trick. I think that if you are somebody like me who is past 40, so like I'm in my 50s, what our bodies need is different to what we needed when we were 20 or 30. And I think it's really important that actually we stand still and acknowledge that. There's nothing wrong with it. It's not bad. But we do need to listen to what our body's asking us to do. And that can take practice. And that's why I love doing what I love doing. That didn't make sense. That's why I love doing what I do. As accountability coach for wellness, it's so good to be able to share my knowledge and to encourage women of the same sort of age as me to not think that it's too late or they've missed the boat. It's just that we need to change things. If you were someone that loved cardio and running in your 20s, brilliant. But probably when you're 40 plus, you don't want to be doing that much cardio. Like, weights are much better for us. But that's almost another subject. So I'm going to try and bring myself back to where I started, which was nature. So I've got some notes here because I like to make notes. I like to make sure that I'm giving you all the full information. So if you were to go out and do your own research on why it's good to be in nature, this is what came up. It improves your mood when you're outside because of the serotonin. Now, if you were listening yesterday for sunshine, you'll know all about serotonin. So, yep, being in nature improves our moods. It can reduce our feelings of stress and anger. Again, that's to do with our happy hormone, serotonin, yesterday's sunlight. It helps you to take time out of your day and relax. And this is a really good thing for us to focus on. If we are working in an office, say we're on a computer all day, to actually stop at lunchtime, walk away from your desk, just get outside, breathe in some air, even if you don't actually go for a massive walk, but just getting outside, it's so, so beneficial. It clears your head. It's just so good for you. I mean, it's good for you to walk away from your computer anyway, but it's so good for you. Um, the next one, it said it improves your physical health because generally you're more active. I mean, that is a bit of a sweeping statement. You don't have to be active when you're outside. You could be sitting having a coffee and you'd still actually um, get benefits of being outside. But I'm guessing that most people, when they go outside, it's because they're going to go somewhere, walk somewhere, maybe walk the dogs or go for a cycle, or there's usually something. So that is a generalization, really. It improves your self confidence and self esteem. I think that comes back to our happy hormones. It helps you be more active. I'm not sure if that's actually a correct. You don't have to go outside to be active. I do quite a lot of my stuff indoors. If it's loads of videos, people that are in the gym. Um, so I'm not sure that you have to be outside to be active, but if you can, amazing. Um, the next one was helps memory, helps you feel happier, better concentration, improves your vitamin D. Sunshine from yesterday. That's what that all that is. So being out in nature, it's obvious, isn't it? Yes, we're outside, we've got sunlight. We know that. We discussed that yesterday. But actually, there's more to it than that. There's something very calming about being outside. If you are very, say, angry about something, or if you've got a problem that you need to solve, it's amazing if you go for a walk, how one, you feel much better, and two, you usually come up with the answer. Your brain is able to calm down, it's able to process. And so being outside is this extraordinary free tool that we don't really utilize. And it's so, so good for us. Personally, when I am outside, I just feel happier. Like, I feel content, I feel calm. Um, it can be difficult to explain, I think. I'm struggling with my words today. I'm gonna keep trying. I'm looking at my notes so that my brain can remember what I want to say. Um, for me, ways of getting outside in nature, I mean, we know that I do my meditation and breath work outside, but I actually thrive being outside. I want to do as much as I can. So as soon as the weather is right for us to be outside, so we can have breakfast outside or stay out late in the evening and look at the stars, that's where you'll find me. I don't want to be indoors. I get grumpy if I'm indoors. I like being outside. I don't have to be doing anything. I just like that freedom of being outside. That's just me. It just works for me. Um, so I try and do as many things as I can outside. It's quite nice to do yoga outside once the weather's better. Um, but also I love to garden. And quite often when I go out in the garden, I go out every morning to water all the veggies and the plants and make sure that everything's okay and see if anything needs picking. And I usually think, "Oh, I'll just pop out and do that quickly." And then it takes me way longer because I get lost in what I'm doing, and then I might plant some more seeds, or I might end up doing a bit of weeding. And just the process of having my hands in the soil, being outside, hearing the bird song, noticing what birds and butterflies are around me, feeling really in tune with the seasons, I usually end up singing. I just feel at one with being outside. It just fills my cup up. So some people recharge their batteries with other people. They need other people around them to recharge their batteries. For me to recharge my battery, I need to be on my own and I need to be outside. That is the best and quickest way for me to come back to feeling me, which is quite interesting, isn't it? I mean, we're all different, and it's good that I know that that's what works for me. So, as with all of these things, I'm not telling you you've got to be outside all the time, but try it. It's like, see how you feel. Have your breakfast outside in the garden if you can. Even if you can open your back door to your kitchen, if that's something that's available to you. Um, and then, do it every day for a week. Notice, see how you feel, see what happens. Um, yeah, I just really like it. It works for me. The other thing that's really interesting, I always think, is grounding. I don't know if you've heard of grounding. Um, Grounding is when you walk on the ground barefoot. Ideally, walk on grass. We don't have grass here in our garden in Cyprus, but it still works. But ideally, you would be walking on the grass barefoot. I actually spend most of my life barefoot. I have to remember to put shoes on. Um, and I've always been like that. I was always not very good at telling my children to put their own shoes on because I didn't have mine on. Um, but we know that our bodies are full of energy, and we know that the world is energy. And so when we walk barefoot on the grass, our energies, they don't join, but they connect. And all things, everything works on vibration. So we begin to start to vibrate with the earth. I think that's probably the best way to describe it. And so from doing that, one, it's calming. Two, it's lovely. Um, but also it helps set our circadian rhythm, which we talked about before. And if we can get that set, then that helps with our sleep. Um, but the other really interesting thing is if you've been traveling, if you go outside barefoot and walk on the ground, it's really good for you because it does help reset your body clock, especially if you've been flying and you've gone in between time zones. So if you find yourself in that position and you think, oh, I'm going to really struggle with jet lag, take your shoes off, get yourself outside, walk on the ground for about 20 minutes, half an hour if you absolutely can. And you'll find that has a massive impact on your jet lag to the point that you may not get jet lag because your body will have connected with the earth, your vibrations will connected, your circadian rhythm will have rechecked itself, and then your body can just get on. I mean, it's amazing, isn't it? I know people that have tried it and it works. So, there's definitely something in it. It's worth having a go, isn't it? Um, yes, and so the other thing I think that's good with nature is I did touch on it earlier, but it's working with the seasons. The seasons can teach us so much. So a really good example of this is if we start in autumn. So autumn teaches us that we have to let go of things, like the trees let go of their leaves and the plants begin to die off. And it doesn't mean that everything's finished and gone forever. It just means that they're starting to release what no longer serves them and they're going to start to rest. And this is really good reminder for us because naturally our bodies want to kind of go with the seasons, and so it's pointless fighting it. It works much better if you work with them. Um, I have always been someone that says that in the winter I should hibernate like a bear because I don't want to get up. It's cold, it's dark. I do want to eat comfort foods. And if I make myself get up when it's dark at 5 o'clock in the morning and eat salad, I'm going to be miserable. But if I say, okay, it's winter, so I'm going to readjust my day, I'll get up a little bit later so that I can enjoy the light when it comes. I'll eat the foods that sustain me better. Everything's better. Like it just works. And then, coming into spring really is more like a new year. It's very difficult. I've always found it difficult to celebrate New Year in January because it's the middle of winter. I'm not ready to start making goals and make changes, and I'm still resting. But when we come to spring, it's completely different because spring, everything starts to bloom. You want to start to come outside, you want to start enjoying everything. And then that's a really good time to like put into place the new things that you've been mulling over in the winter while you've been resting. Um, some of you might think that that's a bit strange, and maybe you haven't come across this before, or maybe you've heard it, but you haven't really given it a try. Uh, for me, working with the seasons, especially now I'm older, really just makes so much sense in my head. And so being outside in nature really helps me um, notice the seasons more. We live in Cyprus, and one of the things that people said when we came here was, "Oh, I can't believe it. You're going to leave the UK because we have seasons. They don't have seasons in Cyprus. It's just hot." But that's so not true. We have seasons, which they're just different. But, just this week, we have noticed that the bee eaters have arrived. That is a really good indication that the weather's warming up and summer's coming. There's lots of little nuances that when you're outside every day, you notice. You walk past the rose bush every day, you can see the new growth coming, you can see the flower buds. Uh, it's amazing. Oh, I seem to have got something going on here. Let's just. Oh, sorry about that. Don't know what happened there. Um, yeah, so it's really important for me. It's really important for me. Um, I will spend as much time outside as I possibly can. And I just think it's really interesting that all of the things that we learn about sleep, all of the things that we learn about sunlight, and all of the things that we learn about being in nature are really, really good foundations for us. And if we can get those three things lined up and right consistently, not perfectly, but consistently, then the other layers of our wellness will be much easier because we've already nailed the hard stuff. We've got good sleep, we're getting our sunlight, we're boosting our hormones, we've got our circadian rhythm in place, we're living with the seasons, we're being outside, we're breathing in all that good air, we're being active just by, being outside and wandering around the garden, we're vibrating with the earth, all of that good stuff before we've even hit any of the other layers, that the ones that you always hear about, the ones that maybe you struggle with. Um, and I just think it's such a nice way to come at wellness. Why should we come at wellness from it's all about the food you eat? Like, that's just such a small part, such a small part. All this stuff is all the fun, all the good stuff. Let's nail that. Let's get that right first. And then we can worry about the other layers. And we will come to them like in the next couple of days. We will be talking about them. But I just really want to share this passion that I have, that actually these three topics, I think, are the bedrock of what we need to do with our wellness. And absolutely, if we can nail that and get such good foundation, the other stuff will just fall into place. I promise you. So there we are for today. That's nature. I hope you've enjoyed the podcast. If you haven't listened to part one and part two, please go back and have a listen. They're there for you. Come over onto Instagram, see what I'm getting up to today. And I will be back tomorrow with part four.